Alright, I'm doing this video for Captain Kidd, two-player pinball machine, Gottlieb 1960. I think there's only one other video on YouTube on this, and that's why I'm making it. I have fixed this up for a friend who got it for free. He got it for free from another friend. I don't have any friends like that. But he does, and it was all hacked up. All the wires were hacked up to disable it. Must have been by a former operator who didn't want any competition when he got rid of it. So I had to replace a ton of wires and splice into them and replace them. Luckily, he left all the Jones plugs connections, so that made that kind of easy. So yeah, the whole objective of this game is to collect 14 rubies. You can see a line of 10 rubies running across the middle of the play field here. You can get up to 14 of them, and I've never gotten over 10, even on 2-player 5 balls. Never even came close to 10 yet. I think I got around 7 once. It's pretty hard. And the way you collect rubies, there's a couple different ways. You got to collect one. You got to get the number 1 through 5 objectives. So you can go down the lanes to get number 1, 2, 4, and 5. And then you also have 1, 2, 4, and 5 lanes here at the bottom around the flippers. You're losing the ball to get these. Or you can get them in the ship's wheel here. There's an active pop bumper in the middle and stand-up switches for each of these numbers. And then the 3 is the toughest to get. It just seems to hit this one the least. Because when it's draining through here and not hitting the bumper, it's usually hitting the 1 or the 5. Hits the 2 and the 4 more often. Hits the 3 the least, I find. And then the other way to get 3 is to go down these out lanes. Which is 200 points. And often the 3 is all you have left. So often you get 300 points when you go through here. Because if you're getting a ruby, you get another 100 points. And you get 200 just for going down this lane. And then there's one other way to get rubies. You can get them all at once when this rollover is lit. And it's interesting. The way they make this rollover light up, it's different every time based on how many rubies you've gotten. It seems almost random. It's hard to figure out, and I'm sure that was intentional. It's a real torturous path in the electrical circuit to get this lit, and it depends on things like the state of the 0 to 9 unit and the advance unit, which they must have programmed all these different paths for each ruby that you're on has different sets of paths to light this. So the way all these different units all line up, you can't track it. You'll never be able to predict when this is going to light. You just have to be ready for it, or take your shot not even knowing whether it's lit yet or not half the time. This rollover, the green one, it lights the pop bumpers on for 10 points instead of 1, and it lights the kickers for 10 points as well. And this one's a little more predictable. There's a setting, a Jones plug that you adjust. You can either have it on all the time, or you can set it for medium or conservative. And what that does is every time you hit a 50 points, it'll increment it once. If you're on medium setting, then every 2 times you hit 50 points, it's lit, and every 3rd time you hit 50 points, it unlights. And if it's on conservative, every 1 time you hit 50 points, it lights, and every 2 times you hit 50 points, it's unlit. Confused? And it only stays on until you turn over one of the 100-point scores. And that's one of the that brings up an interesting thing about this game is you might drain the ball after turning on the lights, and if you don't turn over your 100 score as you drain, you're actually giving the next player lit pop bumpers for more points. So it's kind of interesting for a multiplayer game for a feature to carry over like that. I'm not used to that myself. And you're collecting the rubies together. This doesn't reset. It collects during the whole game, so it's the collection for both players. And once you get to a certain amount of rubies, you can get replays off of that, just like the high score replays you can get. And the other thing that holds through each player is the objectives that you've gotten. So if you only have the 3 left to get a ruby, and you drain the ball, your opponent only has to get the 3. So I was always used to some more 70s games where everything just reset across the board, but on this machine, a few things don't reset, and it makes it kind of neat. What else can I say before I fire it up? It's real interesting to keep the ball alive down here around the flippers. You got all these lanes, you can nudge and bounce off of those pretty well. You got to be used to it and have a plan and be familiar with how the ball acts down here. So I learned some new skills on this game. I thought it was pretty neat. And yeah, you want to light the 10 points when you can, get that spotted number when you can, and if you don't have anything else to go for, I like to just shoot the ball up into the wheel and hope that it clacks around and gets a lot of your objectives out of the way. And well, that's pretty much it, so I guess I'll fire up a game. Oh, there's one more interesting thing. You saw the tilt light was on there. If one player tilts during a game, they actually have 2 tilts relays in this, and that's the first thing. I've never seen that before. If you tilt, you lose the whole rest of your game just for that player, and the other player gets to keep going as usual. So that was something new to me that I've never seen before, is the separated tilts and how they affect the whole rest of the game, not just the ball you're on. You don't just lose the ball you're on, you lose the rest of your balls too, and it'll keep just going back to the player who didn't tilt. Alright, so I'll fire it up. Alright, we're going to bounce around the wheel here. Oh, it came right back out. Dang. Send it back in, and it came back out again. I haven't gotten anything yet. There we go, I hit the red lip. Try to get back in there. Oh, I got it lucky. Now I've got 2 rubies. I usually don't do this good. I still haven't bounced around in there. I almost tilted, that was dumb. But 348 is a lot of points for ball. Flip the pops. Want to bounce around them a little bit. Oh. Come on. That wasn't so hot. It's actually not bad. I got set on 5 ball. And I've got the replays for 2 players set on 6 rubies. And it has you set it differently for, got another ruby there. It has you different set points for 1 player versus 2 players. If I was on 1 player, I'd get a replay at 4 rubies. Since I'm on 2 player, I'm at 6 and 7 rubies. I'm actually doing much better than I usually do. Way better than I usually do. It's not lit, so I'm just trying to get up. Oh, just trying and you get up into that ship's wheel. And you get familiar with how to plunge if you want to get on the right hand side. I think I do kind of a pretty late one, and I think it ends up there on the right. Since I had 2 lanes slit, that was a safe way to shoot it. And you hear those knockers going off. I have the score set at 800 for my first replay and 1,000 for my second. I was getting a few replays there. Come on, I thought it was going to drop. When I hit that 2, yeah, and you just heard the knocker go off because I got my 6th ruby. I tilted, so you get to see how this goes. So player 2 tilted and doesn't get to play anymore. There's a different light in the back glass, a different relay for player 1 tilt. And that's why he gets to keep playing. Alright, let's see if I can get one more ruby, and I've got another points replay at 1,200. I'm going to try to get 2 more replays. Didn't get it. And missed the match number. So that's it. It's got match number 2. I don't know when they came out with that, but this is a pretty early game. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this. It's a pretty fun game if you get a chance to play it.